So, my question, for someone who's never heard of CUMA Combatives, how would you explain it and how it differs from traditional martial arts and MMA?
So, a lot of guys always called me the karate guy that understood, right? So, a lot of martial artists, kung fu guys, karate guys, they'd approach servicemen like yourself, veterans and in military and law enforcement groups, and try to force this real traditional karate or kung fu onto guys wearing kits that a lot of it just doesn't work. It doesn't transition well. Not in today's world, right? You're not on horseback anymore fighting with swords, right? So,
thank you.
So I guess just from the crowd I grew up around, I realized early, I started bouncing when I was 17 years old.
Wow.
I had a student named Mike Oakley that worked at this place called Shark Club downtown. And, he was a private student. And he says, how would you like to bounce? I said, sure. I got to go hang out with some 21-year-old girls, get some free drinks at a cool bar, right? It was a cigar bar with a piano.
Yeah.
Really neat. It's called a Shark Club because they had these fish tanks,
That's awesome.
around, and I used to work there. And so I got an idea of security at an early age, right? And one day, fight broke out, and whatever happened, I had a snap roundhouse kick in some guy's face, and I hit him. But I felt like a point fighter. I felt the snap, right? So used to the track, that snap and that control that the guy stopped. I kicked him across his lips. But at the same time, I thought to myself, why didn't I kick him harder?
Right.
Because I was so drilled in the training into that point fighting. So as I started getting more into security, the security world, at 17, I'm not a big guy now. When I was 17, I was even smaller, and, we'd be breaking up fights, and I realized a lot of things that you taught in traditional martial arts just wasn't valid in that world. So, I started looking for things. My father was a well-known martial artist. He was pretty famous, and we used to travel the country, or even to Taiwan, the world, doing seminars. And in these seminars, it'd be like him and 2 or 3 other instructors, or him bringing guys in from other parts of the world that didn't speak English. And I would train with all these, wonderful masters. And usually, I didn't have a choice. I'd have to get in the floor and train. And I'd learn a lot of things, and I'd see a lot of different things. And so I found some things that I found attractive to me that worked. I was like, oh, this stuff is really cool. So when I had a school, the hard part about being an instructor, and I don't know if you run into this or not, is that when you're teaching all the time, sometimes people stop teaching you, right? You hit this wall, right? You hit this wall as an instructor, and you're like, I'm busy teaching everyone else. I'm not learning anything.
Yeah, exactly.
So what I started doing was I started bringing in classes of other arts to me because I didn't have time to go elsewhere.
Right.
So I started saying, well, I'm going to have this class, that class, and I would jump in those classes and learn the things that I wanted to learn. And a lot of the things that I learned, I've always been a defensive fighter, meaning while in the ring or inspiring or fighting, I'm pretty aggressive. But I'm more or less, you come into me, and I'll let you open up and hit you, right? And so my mindset is always, because I have short limbs, right? I have short arms, short legs. I can't chase you, right? And if I'm chasing someone that's bigger or taller than me, I'm opening myself up to get hit. So I'd rather stay nice and tight and let you come to me, right? And so that defensive mindset is why I learned how to learn to fight a lot of different arts is, well, I'm going to learn how to beat things. Right? So the only way you could beat a boxer is to learn how to box. Right? The only way to learn how to grapple or to beat a grappler is to learn grappling. Right?
Exactly.
Or stick fighters, you have to understand the mechanics of it to understand stuff.
Exactly.
So I think my approach is a little bit different is that I learned things not because I was a fan, but I learned things so I can understand how to stop things.
Right.
Because I'm a defensive guy.
Exactly.
So I think that mindset is a little bit different than a lot of other people. But it also makes me stand a little bit apart. The foundation of what we do is, my family's system of Chinese martial arts, also Taekwondo, and then it stems into some FMA, some grappling, some tactical training, and also I've adapted a lot of survival training, which, I feel that urban and wilderness survival is peanut butter and jelly with martial arts.
Yes, it is.
And a lot of people don't realize that. A lot of uniformed professionals have some either basic or advanced survival skills that are taught, right? And that's for a reason, and I would tell everyone in training is that if the world's greatest fighters and warriors trying to become better and better and better at these skills, why don't you?
Exactly.
Right? Because I don't need that long. I mean, Navy SEALs need it, and they're pretty tough.
Right. Absolutely. Always sharpening the edge.
Right.
Absolutely. I love that. I love the background of how you were almost kind of, I don't want to say forced into things, but a lot of people, they make room for fear, and it sounds like you never made room for fear when it came to training, and you weren't afraid to learn new things and to get in there. And a lot of instructors, I think they're worried about being shown up, and so they're not willing to step into another class and learn something and make those mistakes in front of people. But it sounds like you're humble enough to actually do that because you want to learn what other people are teaching.
Right. So CUMA stands for Combined Universal Martial Applications, and especially in my younger days, not so much now, I let the younger guys do it now, but in my younger days, I would let people test things on me.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Jeez, yeah.
I let people try to do no-touch knockouts. I'm like, well, show me. Right? Show me if this shit works. Because if it works, I want to know how to do it.
Exactly.
Right? And so, there was a drill where some guy was showing how to drop a knee, some FMA class, and I laid on the floor, got him, and I said, show me, knee me in my chest and see what stops me, and so I've always been about the applications, about, the only way to become hard to stop is just to get over that fear of getting hit.
Right.
If you knock the wind out of me, cool. If you don't, then you realize that you've been practicing something that can't knock the wind out of someone when they're letting you do it.
Exactly.
And that's just how I am, and I've been yelled at by some guys that were above me and seniors to me, like you shouldn't let people try to hit you or knock you out, and I said, why not?
Right.
Isn't that the truth of the application of the martial art? That's the only way you know if something works or doesn't.
Exactly, yeah.
Right, everything else, it's all concept and philosophy. Concepts are cool, but if you can't make it work, then what's the point?
It's fun drilling it, exactly, yeah.
Right.
Otherwise, we're drilling, and I think that's what I find in a lot of traditional martial arts, and we're all guilty of it, is that we drill things just because it's a drill. And we don't understand the drill, and the drill is maybe not applicable to, like in Wing Chun, a lot of times you have classes that are all Chi Sao based. Like everything's Chi Sao. Chi Sao's cool, but you're never gonna Chi Sao with someone on the street, And if everything is, we're gonna get here, we're gonna stop. I pop you once and that's it, and we reset, and I pop you again and we reset. Is that mirroring what's gonna happen in real life? And I think we get too caught up in just doing something that, I'm not saying it doesn't work, but we get too caught up in theory.
It's an art.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Over actually saying, hey, if I'm under duress, can I use this?
Right.
Will this work? And can I make it work, in a repeatable manner?
Right.
If not, then either we drill it more until we can get it right, or if it's something that keeps failing, then it's remove that,
Right.
Yeah.
So in CUMA, we train everything to make it work, make it fail, find out what failed, transition from there. Just like anything, you transition and you make it work, because anything can fail.
Absolutely.
Right? Any block can miss, any punch can miss. You can slip on ice and fall, and someone can jump on you, right?
Right, absolutely.
That actually happened to me. I just slipped on ice, and the guy tried to jump on me, but it was interesting stuff. Whoa. But this is 30 years ago, 40 years ago,
Okay.
right? So a long time ago.
So I don't have to jump in right now?
No.
Okay.
That was a long time ago. But my point is while I was on the ice getting up, in my mind I was like, this is pretty interesting. I was processing, the guy. Well, I wasn't scared of the guy, but it was an interesting situation, I had dress shoes on a sheet of ice.
Oh no. Yeah, that's like the worst. That's the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
No. But it sounds like you definitely adapt, and that's what I like about this system. I mean, so kind of going back to people and students, in your experience, what are the most common bad habits that you feel like people bring, to traditional martial arts or sports that actually gets them hurt, in real life and violence?
Well, I would say the way they practice self-defense. So in a lot of schools, more schools than not, when people throw punches at each other, they're punching like this and they're not trying to hit each other.
Right, at all.
And they're feeding bad information, right? And that bad information hurts both people. One, you're teaching the person that's punching to miss a target. And there is nothing out there, no sport, no combat, no archery, no firearms. No one ever teaches you how to miss the target, right? Or miss the goal.
Exactly.
Right? But you're practicing missing the target because you're trying not to hurt your partner. Second, you have the partner that's defending, that's practicing on blocking something that's not even close.
Right.
Right? Like, you're going over here, I'm just going to keep moving forward. What do I care about that? It's not anyway.
Right.
So, or I'm opening myself up, blocking something out here that's not really. So what I find is when I do a lot of workshops, guys that work all that stuff, then I come in, okay, block this, block, then I come straight and I hit them and they can't stop me. And a lot of these guys are just like black belt level people, and I'm like, the reason why you couldn't stop me is because you're used to defending against things that don't matter, and then you're not teaching yourself how to zoom in on that area that you need how to block, right? And so I think that's a bad part of self-defense and women's self-defense programs out there. I think that's a bad habit. Also, just not being honest with your students.
Yeah.
A lot of instructors like, oh yeah, you do this, you can trap them, you do that, you can trap them, and stuff they can't pull off themselves, and you're giving this false sense of security,
right, exactly.
as an instructor, especially if you're teaching, if self-defense is anywhere in the name of your program, and you're teaching stuff that can get someone hurt.
For sure.
You're not doing a very good job.
Nah, you're. I think as a Sifu,
it's your responsibility.
Yeah, it is. And as a trainer, you can tell when you walk into a school, like you said, when guys they're not giving you energy, they're not even trying to land that target, and it's like, hey, how do you expect to defend in reality if you're standing here, I'm always going to punch over this way,
right?
And so then now you're
reaching out to try to find the attack, and it doesn't work.
And I feel like diversity, to a certain extent, diversity kills, which is why we have to train something over and over and over and over again until we get it right, until we have the understanding. And if we can't even get the basic concept of, hey, while we're in training, I'm going to hit you, that should motivate you to block. And then you're gonna, as we're doing this, we're both getting better because I'm learning to actually punch a target, make contact, what that feels like as I'm doing it, and then, hey, now we're learning timing and blocking, and if you miss, I get hit all the time. I made a mistake and tried to bong sao, and like an idiot made a ramp to my face, so it's stuff like that where if we're not giving that pressure, then now we are in that McDojo space, I feel like,
and again, when I teach, to block, I'll say this is how it works. And I'll say, Sifu Jason, I want you to punch me straight in my face as fast and hard as you want, right? And I'll tell you to come harder and faster, and I'll block it, and I'll block it, and I'll block it, and I'll show how it works, right? And I'll tell anyone, if you hit me, good, I asked for it, right?
Yeah.
I asked you to punch me in the face, right? So, this is where that level is. Most of the time people don't try to, people try to get in, but when they practice back and forth, most people practice with control, so people don't have a lot of control. And we say, hit someone the way you want to get hit back because you're next, right?
Exactly.
So it's gonna be his turn next. So
exactly.
If you want to blast,
we'll feed energy. Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Wherever you go, you're gonna get that back. So, but I think that's, again, I've always been a person that's been willing to lead by example, and that's really important, is that, especially when it comes to like defense,
Right.
I'm willing to test it out, I'm willing to try it out, and I think that I've really narrowed down a path of movements that work well for me and my group of guys that are trained, that works, that's kind of proven itself because we kind of test it.
Yeah, for sure. Your training it's efficient, it's concise, and it makes sense. It's not this like movie kung fu, where I gotta like do a running spin kick over someone and do the 5-point touch of death to their heart.
Right.
It's things that as a martial artist, as someone who's been in the combative space, it's like, hey, I could do this with kid on. I could do this with a t-shirt on and board shorts. So I think your stuff really, your material really has evolved into a space that it can kind of hit everyone, whether you're law enforcement or that civilian, mom that's just trying to learn how to not get killed.
And not to see transition what you're talking about, depending on your audience, right?
Right.
If I'm talking to an audience of kids, or an audience of uniformed professionals or cops, or if I'm training correctional officers, it all has to change.
Yeah, it does.
What you deliver, but for the most part, it's pretty much there.
I love that. And so would you say that your material connects your empty hand, knife, stick, firearms, and what's the common thread that ties all those ranges and tools together for you?
What's the common thread? I mean, like what transitions or why?
Yeah, like what? So essentially, learning like those different ranges of the fight. Like, how have you been able to take those different weapon systems and put that into your training?
Well, my firearms instructor and the first guy to really school I used to train at, or I went to, was a school called Tactical Response. Those guys, Mr. James Yeager.
Mm-hmm. Yep, the legend.
God bless him, right?
God bless him, rest in peace.
And James, a lot of the quotes I give is from James. He was, me and him had a lot of conversations, and he found me really stubborn. He would say, Johnny, why do you ask me questions and I give you an answer and you go do the exact opposite, right? And it was frustrating the hell out of him, right? Because I'd question, right? I'd question. And, James, his model was like mindset, skills, tactics, gear, right?
Yeah.
Gear was last, right? So mindset always is first, then your skills, then your tactics, and then your gear. And so I guess that's part of the threat, right? My mindset is, levels of force, can it be avoided, situation awareness, de-escalation, right? Then it goes from, can I keep you at bay without hurting you or me getting hurt, right? Controlling that level of force. Then it goes to where it gets a little more dangerous, where I might draw something, right? And then, I might use an impact weapon like a pen or something, to get you off me, or coffee mug or whatever I may have near me. Then, then it might escalate into a different weapon,
right?
And then, ultimately, it would be your firearm, but it just really depends. That thread really just depends on who you're training, because as someone that's been in the military, that your initial goal is within seconds to get back to your primary weapon, which is your firearm, right? You're not there to wrestle someone,
not at all,
or fight them. Just use whatever tools you have to get them off. You get them done.
And realistically, if I'm wrestling someone, my buddy needs to be shooting them.
Right.
Right.
So it's just so those ranges all vary with who you're talking to. I don't know if that's the answer you're looking for.
No, that's perfect. No, I love that, because that almost kind of transitioned into my next question. So in your book, you talk a lot about not going to stupid places where stupid things happen. How would you define like a stupid place for an average person who's listening?
So that saying came from James Yeager when I did an interview. I used to write for Survival Magazine.
Really? Oh, wow.
And I did an article on how to survive a riot zone, right? And so for my article on how to survive a riot zone, I got 5 or 7 of the top instructors I could think of that I knew to talk about. I interviewed them kind of like this. How would you do this? How would you do that?
Right.
And James is first to say, don't go to stupid places with stupid people and do stupid things, right?
I love that.
And the kind of work, that was, 10, 12 years ago, that resonated with me. And I use that a lot, because, what's a stupid place, right? protest.
Right. Yeah. Boom.
Right? I used to work in a bar. In the bar one day we hosted we did a lot of hip hop shows, and there was a CD release party for an album called Music to Gangbang To, right? Stupid places, stupid things.
Right. Exactly. What could go wrong?
What could go wrong? Right?
Man, bringing in a good crowd of people,
right.
Yeah.
Music to Gangbang To, right?
Wow.
So, and the people that would go to that show, what do you expect happens?
Exactly.
Right? There were some fights and people got beat up, and it was expected, right?
Yeah, of course.
So riot zones, protests, areas where things can just go south really fast. And don't go stupid people. Those guys, as a martial artist, I've always, especially in my younger age, I was hanging out with guys that figured they could start fights and I'd finish it for them.
Oh, yeah,
right?
you get friends like that too?
Yeah. We all do, right? Like, I'm with Jason.
Here, yeah.
I'm with Jason. I got my boys, so if things go wrong, he's got me, right?
No.
Don't hang out with those guys. They're gonna get you into a fight.
Yeah, right.
Don't date that girl that goes, my boyfriend's gonna kick your ass, right? Get rid of her.
Yeah, right.
Get rid of that girl.
Immediately.
Right? Because she's gonna get you in trouble.
Yeah.
Right? So, it's just, now remember I was at a festival in Tinley, and it was some summer fest, and sure enough, there were some loudmouth ladies going, my boy, they got up, and some other guys laid their blankets out, right?
Yeah.
And she came out, she had to move, that's our spot, no one was here,
Yeah.
My boyfriend was gonna kick your ass, right? These guys were like, come.
Oh, no.
Boyfriend showed up, he was like 6'3", 6'4", he's a big guy. But he was like, it's a big deal, we'll just move over.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So but the point is, he was cool, but you put the people in dangerous situations,
Yeah.
especially in today's world, you get some shot, killed.
Exactly, yeah. Some people don't want to fight at all. And I think a lot of people state that, where, like, when I was growing up, if you fought a kid, you beat him up, you picked him back up, and he was like, man, that hurt. I don't want that to happen again. You want to be friends? And we were, and we solved it. Now it's nowhere near like that.
It's nowhere near that.
Yeah.
Things can go bad really, really fast.
Yeah, it's like they make it jump there, like, so kind of even transitioning back into that. Well, what does making yourself a hard target look like every day in life? Like at the gas station, ATM, parking lots?
Situational awareness, paying attention to your surroundings, right? You walk into a building, as soon as you get in or before you get in, you know all your ways out, right? You don't go in the building you can't find your way out of, right? Paying attention to the people in the room, people watch, right? If you're walking down the street and you see a group of shady characters come this way, just cross at the light, go on the other side. You don't have to walk through them, right? Pay attention. Don't walk around with your hands on your phone all day, or headphones, or talking to people. And someone says, "Excuse me," and you can't hear them,
right?
And then they bump into you, and then things happen, right? Just situational awareness. Pay attention to your surroundings. People watch is the number one thing. People watch their spaces, watch the areas you're in. Map quest where you're going.
Exactly.
Right. Understand.
Don't just wing it.
Don't just wing it. You can't do that anymore.
No. I think what was that saying? Piss poor performance. What was it?
Piss poor planning.
Yes, there we go. Yep, exactly. And I think a lot of people just try to, go off of how they feel and do things, and then it's like now you get put in a situation where it's going to take some tactical and logical thinking to get yourself out of this, but you got yourself into it. So you spent decades in security. What are some red flags that you see that most people just completely miss?
Body posture, walk. The way their gait. If someone's walking in with purpose, or they're just kind of right. People don't pay attention to the guy in the back of the room that's people watching, right? You don't know what he's really doing, right? And, dress, sometimes people call that profiling, but certain people dress a certain way, right?
Exactly.
I worked in an office building a couple years ago that I didn't realize had a mental health counselor in the building, but this big guy used to come down there, down this, you know, our restroom was down the hall, and he was about 6'4", like 105, like, you know, big dude. And he wore this black trench coat, leather trench coat, in the middle of summer. It's like, it's like 85 degrees out. Here's this guy that looks like, you know, he'd sweat in the winter.
Exactly.
Wearing this long, you know, I would watch him, you know, he'd look down, you know, didn't look at me, and I could just see kind of his posture walking. I'm like, you know, luckily the office I worked at, there's a lot of people, military law enforcement there. I'd be with cameras, we'd watch that guy, and they're like, yeah, he's going to therapy. Well, even more.
Yeah, we need to watch out. Exactly,
right?
because he's going to therapy for a reason.
So he's there for a reason, right? Just people watching, you know, making sure you have space to move, right?
Right, exactly.
You know, you're walking through, you know, I mean, if you're in line at a mall and it's crowded all around there, I'd rather just let you in front of me and step back.
Exactly, yeah.
You know, and have room to maneuver as opposed to be sandwiched in between a bunch of people.
Right.
You know, just understanding that, you know, if you need to move, you can. You know, I mean, I tell everyone movement is life, and if you can't move, then you're just, you know, if you're just kind of in that death box.
Exactly.
Right? So just paying attention to everything. Everyone that walks in and when it walks out, you know, you have to stare at them, just glance up. You can even glance and wave hello.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not awkward, I think, and I think a lot of times we even stop certain things by making eye contact with people. Right. You know, it's very difficult because you're letting that person almost know I'm aware that you're here without it. You know, I don't have to look at you like, you know, but just the, you know, yeah, that's very natural, and I feel like that's just part of situational awareness. Or just, you know, when it's that human to human connection moment of, you know, I feel like it makes you almost seem less of an object to someone else, because now it's this connection they have to either ignore or acknowledge back, you know, for sure.
Right.
So, question, how would you define a healthy relationship with violence for a civilian who doesn't want to be paranoid but doesn't want to be a victim?
A little paranoia will keep you alive, right? You don't have to be crazy, right? You don't have to be a bunker. You know, you have to build a bunker or, you know, become a hermit. But, you know, just being aware, you know. I mean, civilians, you have to realize that today's world is more dangerous than any world that I've ever been in, you know, and most people, you know, and the people that are older than me, know, like, yeah, it's crazy, the world that we live in today, right? So you have to really pay attention that anything can go sideways like that.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
And, you know, so, you know, just having the mindset that, you know, understanding there's fight or flight and survival and how to get out of there. But yeah, civilians, you just need to prepare yourselves in case something goes wrong, because things aren't.
Yeah, absolutely, and it happens quickly when it does. And I think I worked at a place where an active shooting happened. I was security there, and the whole shooting was like 31 or 40 seconds or something like that. But 9 people got killed.
So I was an active shooter instructor. I used to teach active shooter safety classes for a company that I won't mention. But I was in Ohio. We had a contract for Dane, Ohio. We had in Montgomery County. It was 1,600 people. We had to train in a month in the municipality building. So it's 400 people a week, 2 classes of 40 a day, 5 days in a row. You get 400 people. We were there, me and 2 other instructors, and Dane, Ohio, they had an active shooting downtown.
That's where I worked.
We went, and one of the guys was pointing out where all the bullet holes were and where they hit. And that was Thursday night.
Yeah,
Friday we showed up, and to a room full of people crying. What happened? There was an active shooter 1 mile away at the factory. Some of their families were there. There was an active shooting event, active shooter a mile away from where we were teaching active shooter classes, right? And so what I tell everyone is that, you know, because people say it doesn't happen over here, it doesn't happen to people like us, it happens to someone else. Well, you are my someone else that lives somewhere else. You know, and when I'm in Ohio, I'm somewhere else. I was a mile away. Could have been the mile in my direction where I was at. Yeah. You know, from that shooting.
That was the same shooting. It was at Newcomb's. Right there in in the Oregon district there of Dayton. Yeah, so that was our club where he shot. He actually, see Connor Betts walked behind our building. We have it on our camera. Got his little
So those
PSA.
trees were all, those bricks were outside.
Yep, exactly.
Where they had
And he went down the corridor.
Damaged bricks are still there.
Exactly. Yep. You know what I'm talking about. And then he, he started engaging people to the right, swept them over across the street this way, and then he started shooting at people. Went and had them go to Nat Peppers, and the cops started engaging him immediately because our response there was great because the cops, they walk around there in general. They do a foot patrol there, and we always let them use the restroom because it's safe, secure, that kind of thing. We'll get them water. So thank God those guys were like right there to deal with that. But that's kind of the point, is that I was just a week before that, before I got the job there, I was just walking around, hanging out, going to those clubs with my cousin, dancing to 90s music, and not having a care in the world, because it's like, hey, this isn't Afghanistan. This is home. This is safe. This is secure. And then just like that place became a war zone. It became Ramadi. It became this hell on earth for less than a minute, and people lost their lives. I mean, one of our security guards got shot. I think he was on. He was using the gun that he was using didn't drive as much damage as it would have if it was a longer barrel. So a lot of people that got shot, they hired nothing but veterans there. Like the whole entire team was nothing but veterans. So it's quite a job. Mm-hmm. So everyone started doing ACLS on people. They were making tourniquets. They were grabbing quick clot that we had. Like those were the unsung heroes that day. Were the dudes in Newcomb, because they jumped right into action. And that's the big thing too, like you said about martial arts and about training, is survival too. If I have the ability to put a hole in something, I should be able to plug a hole.
You should plug the hole.
Yeah.
You should know how to stop the bleeding.
Exactly.
Right?
Because you never know how, and especially as
or what if this? What if you don't plug the hole in? You got stabbed. You need to know how to stop.
Exactly.
It, right?
Yeah. Self-aid, self-care, and that's. I think the fight always comes at different levels. And we have to realize too, like after the initial fight is over with, there's a fight of survival.
Fight after that,
mm-hmm. and
legal fight.
And legal fight, yeah, absolutely. Hopefully you're in a good state where they don't care as much, but yeah, that's here or there. So question, I guess kind of going back into this, the whole go home safe mindset. How do you deal with the idea and concept of, hey, I might actually really have to hurt someone, and kind of balancing that with everyday life, of being able to turn that switch on and off?
I don't really think about it.
Okay.
I really don't anymore. Maybe when I was younger, I would tell people that, a lot of that mindset would be like, because some people would never defend themselves, but you attack their dog and they go crazy. Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And so you put them in a position where they think of something, they have that protective mindset where they have to protect, something or someone else. At this point in my life, I just, I have a very big tolerance, unless something is immediate, and I kind of have responded to enough situations to where I can thrive in it a little bit.
Exactly.
Right? And I think you know what I mean by that,
100%.
where you can just go, you respond to it, So I kind of, but there were times to where, when I remember I was working at this really seedy bar. I lost my day job. I was about 30 years old out of school, and I remember I was going to bounce. It was a gangbanger bar. I didn't know it was a gangbanger bar.
Oh, I've done that too.
But I remember this fight broke out in the parking lot, and there was this huge donut of about 100 Latin Kings.
Okay,
and
yeah.
Inside this donut, these guys were fighting and stuff, and these guys took their beer bottles outside, and they were waving in the air like, yeah, like, come on, throwing up the crowns, and it was me and this guy named Larry, who Larry liked fighting a lot more than, it was kind of cool, but I didn't like that when I had to work with him.
Yeah,
because he was very capable,
right?
But I remember Larry going, they have bombs, and I'm like, Larry, they're in the parking lot, just let him do that and call the cops.
Right, exactly, yeah, we're gonna walk
outside. He's like, nope. So it was me, Larry, and this other guy walking out, and I just remember thinking to myself, fuck,
Exactly. You got Martin Briggs right now.
Right.
I have backup. That's all you need. Let's go.
I had to back him up, and you know, I'm like, I'm getting paid enough for this shit. And I walked in, grabbed that guy's wrist, took the bottle out of his hand, and looked at me and gave me this cheesy grin, like, yeah. Walked out, and I was like, dude.
No.
You know, like there's certain things, you know, we can fight over, and there's certain things we just gotta let go.
Let go, right? Yeah. You can choose your battles.
Right.
Oh man, sounds like an adrenaline junkie.
Right.
Yeah. He would throw down like in a blink. You know?
Jeez, I mean, and it's funny. It's like there's part of you that I appreciate that because it's kind of like I hate the friends who if something happens, you know they're gonna run or try to side with the other person to like, hey man, I'm sorry, my buddy here's wrong. You know, it's like, whoa, come on, dude.
Right.
But you get those friends who are just a little too amped. You know, I broke my toe one time, and the doctor was like, hey, I'll set it back for you. You know, and he dislocated it, so I can just do it real quick. He's like, I read your file. I bet you're tough. You can handle this. And he's like talking me up, and I'm like, okay, man, I can do this. And yeah, no. So as soon as he twisted and pushed in, I screamed. My buddy came busting through the curtain. And he's like, what's going on? What's going on, Jason? You good? What's he doing to you? At the doctor.
At the doctor.
Like, whoa. And he's like, no, I'm helping him. I'm like, Dave, it's cool, man. He's the doctor. He's like, all right. Just want to make sure.
Right. I knew a guy like that.
Yeah.
He's in prison now.
Yep, exactly. See, there we go. I'm pretty sure that guy is too, you know. He just got done being in prison.
Yeah,
you know?
he was in and out of jail for stabbing people, and he just went back for stabbing someone.
Didn't learn, you know. That's rough. Man, so you know, I mean, I love these stories so far, and you know, you've been in a lot of different environments, street security, training. Is there a moment that really changed how you designed your material, or like a time where like you got into something and you felt like you weren't as prepared for it as you could have been, and that kind of changed how you did things?
Yes. You know, so if you work security or work anywhere, you know that you're as good as your team, right?
Absolutely.
And I've worked with some bad teams, and I've learned to not do that. You know, because you know you have a weak, like a weak shield.
Exactly.
Right, and all of a sudden you're defending the guy that should have your six.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? And so I think that's what I learned is that, you know, as you build your team up around you, you have to make sure that everyone is one team, one goal.
Exactly. Oh man, that's perfect. That's
right?
Yeah, that's beautiful. Because it's true. We did a force-on-force training at a location, and I was the would-be active shooter. You know, so when we started, you know, arguing and engaging, I, you know, used a fake blade and I stabbed one of the guys, drew my weapon and started firing. The guys on the security team, a couple of them like use other people's human shields to duck and hide. And it's like, okay, so now we get to see who's who. Right. You know, now we see who's going to step out and who's going to engage me, even if it's just a scenario. But if you're the biggest dude in the room and you're hiding behind the smallest guy on your team, because you're, you know, it's that kind of thing. So I think exposing, like you said, if you can expose where the team is vulnerable or who is making the team vulnerable, I'm not going to be comfortable if we're pying into a room and you're not in your quadrant, you know, or you step out of your quadrant and now I'm getting shot, you know, or you're just not where I need you to be.
Or you're making the situation worse.
Way worse.
You know, I've worked in many situations where we've had it under control, and here comes that guy, and he just ignited everything.
Escalated again.
It was all under control.
Yeah. And do you think that comes from a breakdown in, you know, a lot of law enforcement, they're taught to like shut everyone down, to get control of the situation, be more aggressive, to try to get control of the situation. I think a lot of people in general, not just law enforcement, but they think that's the way to go about things, is try to be the most aggressive, dynamic thing when it's not always necessary. Yeah. You know,
I don't know if it's just law enforcement or almost anything that you have guys that are just any level of security, you know, from bouncers or, you know, to bodyguards, you know, you learn not to do that. You know, de-escalation is something that should be taught to everyone up front. I think that's where the breakdown is. Is de-escalation isn't taught enough. Situational awareness and de-escalate. You walk in, you see it's under control. cool.
Be cool, yeah.
Right? You walk in, he's de-escalate, right? If you can't de-escalate him, I pull you off, you step away, I come in and I de-escalate it, right? You know, I mean, until we find out, you know, who you're willing to talk to and willing to listen to, you know, there's no reason to put anyone at risk.
No, there isn't.
You know, in those rookies and those hotheads and cowboys, you know, it comes down to, you know, hiring. That's why, I stopped working in bars and I stopped doing all that because I realized that there's a percentage of the time where I was in a situation because someone on my team escalated it.
Exactly, always. And I think that's I was a bouncer for quite a while as well, and I think you have that flow of there's guys who they want to go there and get their cowboy on, you know, and then you have the people who, you know, depending on where you are, alcohol's already a factor. Sometimes drugs are a factor too, depending on, you know, what kind of club you're working at. And when people have, you know, money and they think that they have entitlement to them, that's a whole other thing as well.
Right.
So, you know, it's learning, for sure, how to de-escalate things to where I've had guys who, you know, they're fighting, they're acting crazy, and I walk over to them, hey man, come here, I gotta talk to you real quick. It's kind of loud in here, man. Let's step outside real quick. You're like, hey, where's your coat? It's cold outside. Let's get your coat on real quick. And you get them outside. Hey, listen, man, Jimmy doesn't want you here right now. Who's Jimmy? I don't know. Jimmy doesn't want you here right now, man. You know what? Come back tomorrow. I'll buy you a drink. All right. Things will be way better. All right. Things will cool down. Can you do that for me, man? You know, my name's Jason. I've literally stopped so many fights just by that verbal judo.
Right.
You know.
Beach Club, and I'm not going to mention anyone I worked with by name, but there was like 18 of us on staff. It was a busy place.
Good grief. 18 security guys?
Yeah, it was a busy place, and we had so many doors and entries, and there's about 10 to 12, about 10 guys, you know, Taylor Street boys, and one part group of Italian kids that, you know, they were pretty tough guys. They liked to fight, right? Mm-hmm. And one of our guys was on liquid G,
okay.
You know, drug.
Yeah.
And these guys, we took them outside, pushed them down, so you guys got to go. They're out like, we're out, and they're yelling, but they're leaving. Yeah. And our guy takes a glass and he whips it at the wall or the floor or whatever, and a chunk of glass breaks off and hits one guy in the eye.
No.
No, they're falling, we're pushing them back, they cross the street into the parking lot. I look at the guy that's all drugged up and he's laughing like a monkey, and he takes off.
He turned off. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
And he takes off, right, into the bar, right? And so these guys are like going, come on, let's go outside, right? So I cross the street, and I think that my team is with me, right? I'm trying to de-escalate.
Yeah.
Right? They're staying they have my back like way back, right? Like across, and they're standing there going, watch what Johnny does.
Oh no.
Right? And there's these 10 dudes, and I walk up to them. I'm like, hey guys, what's going on? And they're like, we need an ambulance. Mm-hmm. Right? The guy got him. You know, that's what I'm checking for. You need to call an ambulance for you. No. I'm like, I'm not gonna have an ambulance right here for you. Right. You need to make a police report, right? Like, no, we want to, we're in a fight, this and that, and I was mad.
Yeah, of course.
Right? And they're like, you know, we're gonna fuck the guy up, and I was like, you know what? I can't let you do that. Right?
I like that.
You know, and they look at me and they're like, you know, we really respect you, and I go, why? And they're like, I'm like, well, I appreciate that. They're like, you know, you come out here by yourself, there's 10 of us, and I'm like, just then it hits me, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I look back, and these dudes are way over there. And
we would have fought after.
I quit the next day.
I would have too. Yeah, they put you in a position.
So when I saw that, you know, and I saw them all back there, I was like, you know what? Do you guys like come here? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, well, then this isn't the way to do it, right? Because you guys want to come back. You enjoy coming here for the girls and all that. And they're like, yeah, guys, there's a lot of hot chicks here, so.
Right. You don't mess this up,
Don't mess it up, right? Because you guys do this, but I can't tell you that guy drives a certain car and he gets off at 3 a.m. and comes back.
Who you out of that?
Right? and they're like, cool, dap.
Yeah, exactly.
I went back over, like, yeah, man, we thought you were gonna mess them up, and I'm like, I just said no word to those guys. I walked right through them. I walked in the next day. It was payday. Walked in, and my boss just said, I want my check, and I quit.
Yeah, I would have too.
You know, and one of the guys was like, why you quitting? I said, I gotta work with pussies.
Right. I love that. Exactly it.
And that's just what it is, you know. And I'm not the world's toughest, meanest, baddest dude, but you're my team, and you left me out there.
Exactly. Yeah. There's no reason for that. I look at it like, if I'm watching your back and you're watching my back, I don't have to watch my back because you're watching it, you know, and vice versa. Right. So we have to have that in tandem concept of loving each other enough to stick each other's noses out there for each other. Otherwise, if I don't think that you would die for me or vice versa, or at least get hurt to protect me, then...
Or at least get me out of there.
Yeah, something, you know, something. If
you don't have to die for me, you don't have to get hurt for me, just grab me and get me out of there.
Yeah, right. And if you're not even willing to do that, then it's, you know, I don't know. There's
I mean, I don't want to work with you.
No, not at all.
Not in that environment.
No. Maybe at Amazon. Sure. You know, we're packing, you know, shipping or you know, picking that kind of thing. No, you know what? So we're gonna wrap up here pretty soon. But I wanted to ask you so from everything you've been through, where do you see CUMA Combatives being in the next 10 to 15 years?
I see CUMA Combatives being, you know, I am growing what I call my ohana. And I have a mentor. His name is Grandmaster Al Dacascos. He's in Hawaii. I don't know if you know who he is or not. Yeah. He's the founder of One Hop Kundo and the president of the International Kaiju Kempo Association. And so he is the top dog out there. And, you know, he said to me, Johnny, you know, I'm going to mentor you in your ohana. That's what I've been doing since September. So what I see, you know, before I met you here tonight, at a guy at the school, he wants to become a certified instructor. He teaches Krav, and I said, no, this is going to be the next Krav.
I like, yeah, I see
you know,
that.
This is going to be the next Krav. You know, I have, you know, it's been a while since there's been a wave of something happening, but I have a lot of schools wanting seminars and guys wanting. I'm going to Dayton, Ohio.
Nice.
I'm going to Indiana. I'm going to Hawaii. I'm going to Florida. I'm going to, you know, several schools out here, and all these guys want to train, and they all want to be ohana, and you know, ohana means family, and it's just training. But I see all these guys, you know, the guy today was just like, what do I have to do to become an instructor, right? You know, so I said, let me send you a book, take my 2 books, and we'll start there, right? And I'll come visit your school. So so that's where I think CUMA Combatives, I see CUMA Combatives going, I see it growing. Right now, I don't see a stop. It's been very busy since this year, and I have the entire next year. If you go to my Facebook page,
right, yeah,
the entire year of seminars set up, you know, and you know, it was just really just putting it out there, saying who wants to work with me, and it's been very, you know, very accepted. You know, I mean, this book came out last month, and you know, I'm already working on another one. It's my second book. I have another one coming out.
Beautiful.
Called Movement.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I love the name already.
Yeah, so I mean, I was just testing out different voice to writing dictation technology today because I'm a one finger, you know.
Okay, you too. Yeah.
So I mean, that's what holds me back, and everyone's like, you need to talk into something, and it'll make it a lot easier. So I started doing that tonight, and I was like, this is, you know, I mean, I'm always learning something.
Right.
Yeah.
So we should be expecting several more books here.
Right.
This is part of the series.
Okay. Awesome.
So this is called Fundamentals, and one's for you, one's for you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And it's called Fundamentals, and it just really is that. It's designed to be able to talk to anyone in any martial art, no matter what level you're at or what style you're from. CUMA, see, the thing about CUMA is it's not, it's a system, but it's not a style. Meaning that, you know, a wrist lock is a wrist lock, a joint lock is a joint lock. You know, roundhouse kick, you know, we call Muay Thai cutting, roundhouse kicks and Muay Thai roundhouse kicks, we call them cutting kicks, right? And I've been doing that since when I was a little kid, before I learned what Muay Thai was.
Exactly.
You know, and so there's a universal application of things. You know, how Hapkido does their wrist grabs, you know, Chinese does Chana.
Exactly, yeah, sure do.
And they go, well, you know, you may call it a different thing than I call it. Well, you're from a different part of the world, we have a different language.
Exactly.
Right? So of course it's going to be called something different. Right? You know, and, you know, but the, so that's what this touches on. It just touches on basics on how to make a fist without hurting yourself, situational awareness, how to defensive kicks, you know, concepts on, you know, dealing with multiple attackers, what to do, just some basic tactics. And it's something that it doesn't matter what style you do, it's just a universal approach.
Right, exactly.
To what we do.
I love that.
And so, the worst thing you can do when you walk into a room, when I walk into a seminar or anywhere, is say, okay, forget everything you know, I'm gonna show you something better. There's a ton of YouTube videos out there, or TikTok, whatever, guys, seeing something and they go like this and they show you the right way.
Yeah,
to
I've
do it,
seen
right?
those, yeah.
Right? Or they go, here's a secret that no one's ever taught you, I know better. I immediately shut down when someone tells me shit
exactly,
like that,
yeah, because
right? Because you've shut down what I know, or you're devaluating, valuing what I know to prove your point, right?
Yeah.
So, in CUMA, I just say, what you're doing is, we do it like this, I do it like this, great. That's what they call a CUMA moment, right? You're doing it the same thing. It's just, let me show you the way that I would do it, and let's see if it makes what you do more efficient or not.
Exactly.
Right? And so, what I find is that when I tell, because I do seminars and I walk in and these guys are 5th degree, 6th degree, 7th degree black belts. Some of them are like 8 degrees. They're C-Gungs, and the guy that contacted me tonight, he's like 9th degree in Kempo.
Wow.
Right? So he's like, I'd like to learn your system, right? So I can't approach him as a beginner.
No, not at all.
Right?
Yeah.
I said, if someone, he's got a 4th degree in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, a 9th degree in Kempo, right? And a couple other black belts. I said, you're going to pick up what I show you really quick. Right?
Exactly.
You already have the skill sets that you need. It's just a matter of the way I put things together, But, so what I tell people is, a lot of people say this, say empty your cup, right? You ever heard someone say that?
Yeah.
I think it's the dumbest thing I've ever heard anyone say. I don't say that. And if you say that, I don't. I apologize. But I don't ever. I don't say empty your cup. I say, take your cup and turn it into a 50-gallon bucket.
I like that.
Right?
Yep.
Keep what you got.
Cool.
Exactly.
And just stack those skills and fill on top of it, right?
Yeah.
And what I found is when I approach instructors that way, they're more receptive to that, right? They're like, okay, you're honoring what I already know without putting it down and showing new things I could add to it. And so that's how you build that brotherhood, and when people tell me, you can't, because I did a bunch of different things, and I won't go into it on this video, but I'll tell you off camera a challenge I had and stuff like that. And when I was bringing all these extreme guys or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guys around the school, my dad said, just tell everyone that it's Kung Fu. I said, why? He said, Kung Fu is the best. He's an old school Kung Fu guy. I said, I can't do that. That's dishonest. Right? And so CUMA, that's where I came up with combining versatile martial applications. Because a lot of guys will show you these Aikidos, and also they're doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu arm bars, right? And everyone that sees it knows
what it is.
What it is. You can't call that karate or Aikido, right? That's a Brazilian, that's
exactly.
Right? That's what that is, Or they do an FMA and it's just like that's, it's a 6 count,
exactly.
So
that looks like Google you're doing.
Right. So you have to be honest with what it is. You don't have to sit there and go, oh, yeah, I got this from this, I got this, I got from this, but you can't just call it Kung Fu.
No, you can't,
right?
Yeah.
And so CUMA stands for Combined Universal Martial Applications, and a lot of it came from, we have something in my system, my family system, the Thai family system, called cutting punches and shadow palm. And so people say, oh yeah, I know that, but they don't, right? And the people that do, a lot of people don't do it very well, and no one does it like we do it. But what I found is that between that and sword work, it moves just like stick work, right? And so our punches are just the same angles and movements as the way FMA sticks work, and that to me was an application that connected to me, resonated with me. And when I show people that, they're like, oh wow, that mind blown, right? Because most FMA guys that when I, we start doing stuff and they drop their weapons, a lot of them turn into like JKD guys.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right? And I mean, not everyone, but a lot of them do.
Yeah.
All of a sudden they're doing Wing Chun or boxing. And it's just like, well, where's all of your, all your moves at, or, and I mean, some guys are good, some guys guys aren't, but that's what CUMA means. You know, it's a universal application that just connects to systems. You know, and you know, people ask me all the time, like, what do you like? What do you think of UFC? I think it's great. What do you think of Taekwondo? I think it's great. Right?
It's whatever.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, I like watching UFC. I like, you know, I've seen Taekwondo guys kick a guy in the head, and I'm
Yeah.
like, hey, that hurt.
Yeah.
You know, there's just slap fighting tournaments and guys.
Yeah, those are interesting, aren't they?
Right. What do you think of that? I think it's great.
I'm not doing that. I think it's cool.
Yeah. You know, but I think it's great. You know, I mean, there's, and it's just about having an open mind. You know,
Right.
and there's a guy out there. Shout out to Tiger Tactics. You know, Steve Conrad. You know, I watch a lot of his videos, and he calls himself martial arts nerd. And you know, and I've always said a long time, you know, kung fu guys are nerds.
Yeah.
The dorks. They talk about the histories of, you know, 1,500 and 2,000 years
Rainbow
ago.
Kung Fu and
You know, and what style you study, do you monkey and try this and you know, and because my family comes from kung fu, you know, I've had a lot of these nerdy conversations with people coming to me thinking I'm like the book of nerdness, right? And you know, I laugh with a lot of it, and you know, I take it in stride, you know. But anyway, what CUMA stands for, it's combining universal martial applications. It's my buddy Chris Cabin from Hoghead Mountain Works. They do training knives. This is my friend Jose. He's I believe he's Army. You know, he's a veteran, and we were at Blade Show like 2 years ago, and you know, wherever I'm at, you know, I do articles. I'm like, hey, you have time to do magazine articles? And grab these guys, put them by the front door, and just stick some pictures.
I love that. You got him going across
You know,
the
I'll
face.
send it on the cover. And he's really bald. The guy that made the cover used AI.
Oh, nice. Keep
To give him hair. That's pretty good.
You know?
That's actually really good.
Yeah, every time I see a picture, like I'm interacting with someone who's bald, and I see a picture of them with hair, I'm like, you had hair? That's so cool, you know? And watch, that's gonna happen to me in like 5 years,
Yeah.
you know? I already know it.
But anyway, 10 years from now, my Kumohan will be global. I mean, it's global now, but it's going to be a lot bigger than I can manage alone.
And I'm gonna do my part to make sure that it is. Because your system is amazing, and absolutely. And I you know, it's always developing, and I feel like that's something where just I've learned so much. I know our audience has learned a ton today, not just about you, but about mindset, about what to look out for, and just putting people in the right path for training, you know, and in that sense of not feeling like a victim. I think that's what a lot of people are worried about. Is
the mindset of not feeling like a victim. That's a survival mindset. And I tell everybody, survival is my mindset because I'm not ready to die yet.
Right.
Right?
I love that.
Because the opposite of survival is what? Right?
Exactly.
You know, it's
what I mean?
not surviving.
Yeah. Exactly. Underlining.
I
You know?
mean, if you those are your two options, survive or not.
I think you should
choose
survival.
I choose survival.
100%. It's instinctual. You know, definitely is. So, where can everyone find your book?
Amazon.
Amazon. Okay, cool.
There's another one out there. It's my first book out there, but there's this one out there. Just type in Waysun, Johnny Tsai, Waysun, Johnny, JOHNNY, on Amazon. You find my 2 books, maybe some of my DVDs, or if you're my Facebook friend, you can get them from me directly, and I can sign a copy that way for you. We're in person at seminars and shows. Lots of times if you come to my seminar, the fees include a copy
Oh, beautiful.
of the book.
Okay, that's awesome.
So, yeah, you can, or you know, if you reach out to me, my website's really easy. It's my name. It's WaysunJohnnyTai.com.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so I try to make everything easy going, and I think that's another reason why a lot of people work with me, because I take a very easy approach.
Right.
Doesn't mean it's not efficient.
No,
it just
but
means
yeah.
that I don't need to be gung ho. You know, when I was younger, I tried to impress a lot of people, and faster, harder hitting. And it doesn't mean I can't be faster, hit harder. It's just I don't need to show off.
Yeah, exactly. We know how I want to say we know how cool you are, but we know you know the skill set, and we want to learn from you because of that. You know, I don't think it's anything that you have to even like verify. We know it's there. I don't ever want to, you know, like if I ever start mugging people, I won't, but I definitely won't mug you, you know, unless I want a free lesson, you know. And afterwards, when I'm broken up, I'm like, that was so cool. When can I start classes?
It's like, breathe.
Like after your surgery.
Right.
You
Your
know?
multiple surgeries.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Hey, Joe, I appreciate you so much. Thank you for being here. We love you. You're amazing. Thank you. Hey guys, no, you're good. Make sure you check out the book. Go on Amazon. Check out his website. And get CUMA Combatives training.
Yep.
Appreciate you guys.
Hey.
Thank you.
Thanks.